Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Week 7 of the Esports Racing League's Spring Tour, presented by Spec Racer Sports, Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, and Alliance Autosport here on Apex Racing TV. Over the course of our 9-week season and then the winner-take-all runoffs, we hope to bring you some of the best racing in 3 different classes well known to club racers here in the United States: Spec Miata, Spec Racer Ford, and the RE2 Formula cars. If you joined us last week from America's National Park of Speed, Road America, you witnessed some of the closest action-packed races we've seen for some time here on Tuesday nights, with some of the opening laps in both RE2 and Spec Miata. Really that I know you guys, if you see it, you won't forget for quite some time. But tonight we head to a quaint little track just outside of Washington, D.C. It's almost exactly half the size of the Kettle Moraine Monster, and it's downhill off-camber shoot. It may not elicit the same fear level as the Kink, though it's awfully close. It's going to create some great racing for you here tonight. So welcome everybody to a beautiful country road in West Virginia, the place that Bill Scott built, Summit Point Motorsports Park and the Summit Point Circuit. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the commentary box is Brian Donati, with Dennis Branch as always in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the great views and angles from this, I'll call it an iconic American racetrack. For me, it's iconic. As always tonight, we're going to have 2 20-minute sprints to the checkered flag. First up, as you can see on track right now, will be the Spec Miatas, the MX-5s, and then to round out the evening, we've got the Spec Racer Fords. Both classes are going to be contesting their 5th of 6th regular season races this season, and although they're going to be taking the night off, we're going to see those RE2 Formula cars back with us next week when we head to the home of, I guess it's still called the United States Formula One Grand Prix, but the USF1 race will be at COTA next week. So, Brian, before I want to welcome you in, I also want to thank Tyler Campbell, who sat in last week and did a yeoman's job here filling in for you, but now the band's all back together. Welcome to Summit Point.
We've got the band back together, and again, thank you, Tyler, for filling in for me in the last minute. Some unfortunate circumstances happened, just not able to get there. But you're right, Greg. If you think last week and the racing that we've seen in this MX5 Cup has been close, just wait till we get to this 10-turn, 2-mile Summit Point Motorsports Park main track. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be one heck of a battle. You're going to see some door dings, so don't get
Yes.
don't get excited about your paint jobs, and you're going to see some real close action, especially when we come down this long straight. The draft is really going to play into perspective into this racetrack. And these drivers, well, again, when you first get into the sim racing, this is one of the tracks that you go to understand and learn the road racing. This is one of the very first ones these guys have probably picked to choose to work with setups. So they've got a lot of laps, just as you and I do.
That's right. Of course, we've got lots of real-life laps here, and as we're actually following right now in a different livery this weekend, Deacon Greenfield, there in the number, well, he's got it marked as the 75 machine on the side. It's 36 in the iRacing service. The 75 car is his actual new Spec Miata that he just started racing this year, and so he's put the same livery on as the RP Performance Spec Miata that he went to school in, that he was my student in his competition driving school, and he's out on track with now. So we're a little bit over halfway through qualifying. Brian, let me do a quick little recap, and it's not going to be that quick, because what I tell you that this race, this Spec Miata race from Road America, was one, maybe not for the ages, but it definitely stuck out in my mind. And I'll tell you, if you did not see it, I highly recommend that you go back and watch this race on YouTube from the Ray Esports from Road America. And so we had Morgan Burkhardt and Jamison Huffman on the front row. We had Ryan Maloney join us. He started third with Josh Soto starting on the outside of row number 2. And then we had the two Team Esport Racer drivers, Mitchell Peak and Jordy Fike, making up row number 3. We had 29 starters overall, and as I kind of mentioned at the start, I'm pretty sure that maybe all but 2 or 3 of them went exploring the grassy expanse of the National Park of Speed on the opening lap. So starting things off, Jamison Huffman, who I said started on the outside of row number 1, he ran wide coming out of turn number 1, impacted the barrier, and then played bumper cars while trying to regain over by turn 3. And after the first lap, both Ryan Maloney and Josh Soto, they were able to draft by Morgan Burkhardt, who had managed to get through that little opening turn melee. But the big story is that Mitchell Peak made up 5 positions since the start, and by the time lap 2 was beginning, he was your new leader. But it really was your typical Spec Miata or MX-5 race when you have these very long straightaways at Road America. And by the time we were at lap number 4, we had a 4-car breakaway. We had Peak, we had Patry, we had Maloney, and we had Burkhardt. But in true Spec Miata fashion, they're continued battling pretty much into Canada Corner each lap, going down into turn 5 each lap. Well, it allowed another 5 racers to get into the conversation, and by the time we reached the end of our 20-minute race, we had a 9-car battle for the lead. And going into the very last lap, it was Caleb Patry with the lead. He had Mitchell Peak and Morgan Burkhardt right behind him. And then we had Soto and Maloney battling it out for 5th position, just about 2 car lengths back from then. So going into the last lap, Mitchell Peak had worked his way back to the lead, coming out of turn 3, only to lose it under braking going into turn 5, where he seemed a little hesitant on the brakes. And both Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt were able to motor by him going up the hill under the Corvette Bridge at turn 6. And then as they came into Canada Corner for the very last time, Caleb Patry could not hold off Burkhardt. Burkhardt drafted around him before they got into the braking zone for Canada Corner. But as Burkhardt got very defensive coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend, through turn 14, the very last corner, and came onto the Road America straight for that very last time, Patry drafted him up the hill, pulled out, and with a margin of 48 thousandths of a second, took the win in this epic battle. And so let's take a look now after, again, 4 out of 6 races complete. Caleb Patry, he is currently your championship leader with 79 points. Burkhardt with 73, so he is 6 points back. Then only 4 points back from there is Jordy Fike. Josh Soto 8 points back from there and only 2 points back then, Jamison Huffman. And Huffman had a pretty good recovery drive. I believe worked his way up to 10th, but he lost 2 positions in the championship and falls back to 5th now as we continue on. So, Brian, we've got only about a minute and a half left at qualifying. Why don't we take a look at the timing tower here? And Jamison Huffman, I was talking about Deacon Greenfield, who just got his competition license a couple of weeks ago and had just run his very first real Spec Miata race. Jamison Huffman, very much the same. Huffman is your provisional pole sitter. You can see there with just an 11 thousandths of a second advantage over Caleb Patry, the number 89 car. And I should mention, as he just drove off on the outside of turn 5. Huffman also driving with the same livery as his real-life race car this weekend, so it looks like the Allsports Racing liveries are out for at least 1 week. Caleb Patry, as we mentioned, running second. Wan Chi Lin only through, well, I was just going to say Wan Chi Lin, but let's look at Zhao Lu, who had his very first race with the Esports Racing League last week at Road America, and there he is in that pink and white number 053 machine, and he is your 3rd fastest runner at the moment. Wan Chi Lin now drops back into 4th, and then we've got Tom Pendergrass in the number 23 machine. He is off track. Looks like he's completed his qualifying now, and Wan Chi Lin sticks the landing, as they say, and as qualifying is just about complete now. But that is top 6 with Murphy Nichols in the Smoketown Brewery machine, just back in 7th. And look at that, Greg Mack in that blue and silver, very nice looking Team Esport Racer machine. He just moved that car up on with seconds to go in qualifying up to row number 2, Brian.
Yeah, good run there by Greg Mack. That's going to drop Wan Chi Lin back actually into the 5th position. But I tell you what, funny story. If for those watching the broadcast tonight, if you've never run this on the sim, you saw Wan Chi Lin, you got to do it. You got to jump that curb at the end of a lap at some point, no matter what you're driving in, to see how high you can get that.
Hey, I've seen Brett DePedro of RP Performance do it in a real car.
In a real life.
Yeah, of course he was forced off. It wasn't his choice. But there are a lot of places on the Summit Point circuit where you can get air if you get it wrong. We're watching here on his final lap right now. Joaquin Effinger currently qualified 16th as he comes down to the line and see if he can improve on his 121.98. And no, he does not. He turns in a 122.06. So he's going to stick over in 16th position. All right, Brian. So I believe Joaquin was probably the last driver on track. We're going to have the starting grid. Well, actually, no. Looks like Zhao Lu is making his way around the carousel, around turns 6A and 6B, getting in at least one more reconnaissance lap here at the beautiful Summit Point circuit. By the way, I also wanted to mention, I said in the open that this is the track that Bill Scott built. And that is not true. This track opened up in late 1969, and Bill Scott purchased the facility in 1971 and owned it until his passing in 2017. And he made not only this track what it is today, but those of you who have obviously raced with iRacing, you know of the Jefferson Circuit, and then there is one more track, the Shenandoah. But Brian, why don't we run down the starting grid? I'll take the top 10 and then I'll pass it off to you. Starting on pole tonight is going to be Jamison Huffman in the number 89 Allsport Racer machine with a fast time of 120.225, and you can see there exactly 1/10 off that time. Caleb Patry is going to start right next to him on the outside of row number 1. Zhao Lu will start on the inside of row number 2 with Greg Mack in the Team Esport Racer machine starting in 4th. Wan Chi Lin will start 5th with Tom Pendergrass starting 6th tonight. Murphy Nichols in the Smoketown Brewery machine. He will start 7th with Beans Forster starting in 8th. And congratulations to Beans. He just got picked up as an instructor for driver 61. Charles Vaccaro will start 9th tonight, and Jordy Fike will start in 10th.
And starting 11th is going to be the 124 of Lewis Lockshine. Starting outside of row 6 is going to be the 36 of Deacon Greenfield. I think that's actually going to be the 75 that he is running right now. My screen is going blank here, and things are bouncing all around, Greg. So I have lost everything in my vision here.
All
So
right.
I cannot go any further than that.
All right. Well, let's see. So 15th is going to be Tom Laurie, who had a great run at Road America last week, and Joaquin Effinger in the number 17, the 700 machine. He is going to be running 16th. He's running an all-black livery without any sponsors tonight. We'll explain a little bit later why that is. Travis Trussell, well known in the photography circles around Summit Point Raceway. He's going to be running tonight, starting 17th. John Casey will start 18th, the number 78 machine. Nagase Yoshikawa will start 19th tonight. A little surprised to see him start that far back. But Zach Burke will start right next to him in 20th. Then Josh Soto starting off, I don't believe set a qualifying time. Josh will start 21st, Greg Brockway 22nd, and Andrew Benna will start 23rd. And we have a couple drivers that did not make their way onto the grid. Beans Forrester, Zhao Lu, Greg Brockway, and Andrew Benna. We'll see if they're starting from the pit lane. But Brian, as our field is making their way down out of turn 4 and heading down through that downhill off-camber high-speed chute that I talked about in the opening, let's talk quickly about our sponsor for this race, and that is Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports car enthusiast, Grassroots Motorsports has one mission, and that is to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything else this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. They also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars because hands-on technical articles, they aren't typed behind a desk. No, they're not. They're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read, but become part of the story, head over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. And Brian, just like that, the pace car heads down the pit lane, and now our pole sitter, Jamison Huffman, has the field. It's he and Caleb Patry, the two All Sports Racing teammates, on the front row. Look at that. Jamison even has the rookie stripes on the back of his car there as they are making their way down, and we're waiting for the green flag. And there we go.
Green flag.
There we go. Green flag is in the air, and we are underway from Summit Point Raceway as Huffman moves over driver's right to try and open up that corner going into turn 1 as much as possible. A 3/4 of a mile front straight here at Summit Point Raceway as the drivers got hard under braking going into turn 1. Looks like Greg Mack, he's going to try and go around the outside of Wan Chi Lin, but he gets off into the gator teeth on the outside. He's going to lose a couple of positions, losing to Pendergrast, also to Lin, and Murphy Nichols getting around as well. Move Charles Vaccaro up another position as well as they come down through turn number 3. And we can see there that we've got a little bit further back, Andrew Wozencroft starting a little further back than I expected in the number 80 machine. He's starting to make their way up, but heading now under braking is your two drivers who started on the front row. It's Huffman and Patry with Wan Chi Lin and Tom Pendergrass, and right behind them, Murphy Nichols and Charles Vaccaro, Brian.
I tell you what, guys, and then here we are. We're looking at John Casey going off there, going through turn 5, trying to get back on. It looks like we had several cars, Greg, that started on the off of pit road coming out. Lou and it may be Beans Forrester started on pit road. And Charles Vaccaro having all kinds of problems there trying to get through that carousel. As we pick up Wan Chi Lin here, sitting here back in 3rd place, a little bit further back from Huffman and Patry. He's got Thomas Pendergrass right behind him as they come down the front stretch. Those three of Lin, Pendergrass, and Murphy Nichols, they start to head back. You're going to see a 5-car battle here, Greg, any moment here, as it looks like pulling out there is Thomas Pendergrass to try to get a look next to Wan Chi Lin. Not going to be able to make that stick. He's got to get back in line here. And Murphy Nichols with that Frederick connection there, that just doesn't seem to be working again as he starts to blink in and out behind Thomas Pendergrass.
Surprise, surprise, as Nichols and Pendergrass go side by side through turn number 3. Pendergrass is going to manage to hold on to the position, and those top 5 drivers they had left. I wouldn't say left them behind, but Greg Mack, Fike, Lockshine, Greenfield in that second pack. But if they keep battling up at the front, we're going to find, much like we saw at Road America last week, very, very tightly packed field. Now, look at this. Is Josh Soto, who did start from the back of the pack in that red, white, and blue iRacing machine, as he gets his drift on, going through turn number 5, side by side with the 140 of Travis Trussell. Now, I know Trussell has had a lot of experience here in iRacing at Summit Point Raceway. As we were discussing before the show, we don't think he's ever driven at speed in real life here at Summit Point, but he's had plenty of time to work on it. Travis, a great motorsports photographer here on the East Coast, as we watch as Greg Mack now trying to make up a little bit of ground on Lewis Lockshine and Jordy Fike as our leaders head down into turn number 1. And now, at least for the moment, Brian, it appears to be a 3-car breakaway with Jamison Huffman, with Caleb Patry, and Wan Chi Lin.
Yeah, Thomas Pendergrass starting to fall back a little bit further than I think he really wanted to at this point. Got a little bit of hot going into the carousel last time by, especially coming out of 4 going down into turn 5, which is what we're seeing right now, and drop back just a little bit further. Just a little bit further back here in that purple machine as they start to head back down into turn 5. Again, you definitely don't want to be too wide there, Greg, as we all know very, very well. You will lose some spots. And as we were talking right before the production here, with the 223 of Justin Huffman, the track temperatures are a little bit colder than normal, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So even though we're still early on, there's still a very lack of grip, as you can see here. Track temperature says 100 degrees right now, but again, there's guys are still trying to find grip in this racetrack.
Yeah, and we've found that it does take a couple laps usually for these drivers to get some heat in these MX-5 tires. As Wan Chi Lin now coming down the inside of Patry and Huffman as they get under the brakes, and you can see hard threshold braking there as the rear end on Wan Chi Lin's car wiggling around, and as he tries to get that car under control and keep from going into the gravel trap, Caleb Patry does the over-under. He retakes the position, but now finally Wan Chi Lin, he does pick up second position, getting around our former leader, Jamison Huffman, as they head down through turn 5. Now, we were mentioning here, Brian, that you certainly don't want to go through the chute. You don't want to go through the chute too wide. You can certainly do it if you need to. You don't want to be on the outside. But that last lap we were watching, it was Justin Huffman, I believe Nagase Yoshikawa, and also Tom Laurie. Yoshikawa and Huffman were side by side going through 4, and then they spread out and were 3 wide going through turn 5, which isn't necessarily the best thing to do either, because it is fairly narrow as Road America is, and it's 55 feet from side to side at Road America. Summit Point is slightly more narrow. I believe it's about 52 feet wide. It's a little bit harder to fit all those cars in, especially when you got a corner coming up. As we watch now a little bit further back in the field, we've got the 98 machine of Yoshikawa. We've got Tom Laurie. And then looks like coming down the inside is Zach Burke, trying to take the position away from Laurie. And Brian, I said that Laurie had a great race at Road America last week. He was, for the majority of that race, he was running all by himself, because I think about 8 cars ahead of him all crashed out. And basically the seas opened for Laurie, and there was nobody ahead, and he managed to hold off all the drivers behind. It was a good run for him. I think he made up 10 positions. Brian, let's take a look. We've got the replay here coming down into turn 1, and this is the 23 machine sticking to the inside here real quick. Oh, and there you go. It's Wan Chi Lin who runs wide for the second time. A little late on the brakes, but he is now going to drop all the way back to 8th position as we work our way through now what is lap number 5.
Yeah, it's just getting in there a little bit of hot, just again missing the whole braking point, really from the very beginning, of that turn. As we start to look here, Justin Huffman, and it looks like that is going to be Joshua Soto, I think, right behind him. Those guys are starting to battle too. That's for 12th and 13th. Soto up 8 positions, into 13th, but again, still a long way to go here, Greg, in this, here at Summit Point. We're just really about 7.5 minutes into it, as now Joshua Soto is going to get by Justin Huffman coming out of turn 1 there and heading up into turn 2. He's going to start to make his move towards Tom Laurie.
There you go, and we see there's Wanchi Lin gets around Deacon Greenfield as he starts his recovery drive. Wanchi Lin now having gotten around both Zach Burke and Deacon Greenfield up to 8th position after having been in 2nd for a couple of laps there, and we'll see if he can make his way back up. I mean, the challenge you have here, as opposed to Road America, where you had many long straightaways over that 4-mile course. Here, I mean, there are definitely some places to pass, and folks that just do iRacing may not be totally acclimated to most of them. Most people think, oh, great, and probably the only place to pass is going down into turn 1 under heavy braking, but there are a lot of other places to do it here. I wouldn't say that going side by side through turn 10 is the best place to do it if you want to carry speed down this 3/4 of a mile straightaway. But if you know where to do it and you can exploit it, for example, coming underneath somebody at turn 6B, you can certainly do it. If somebody leaves the door open, going down under hard braking, threshold braking into turn 5, you can do it there as well. So a lot of places here to be able to execute moves. You just have to find the other people unawares. As we jump and watching this battle again, we've got in this pack here Justin Huffman in the orange and black 223, Tom Laurie in that black and purple number 260, dropping a wheel coming out of turn 3. Not a huge loss, as you know there, Brian. If you get a little wide coming through turn 3, you can pretty much just straighten up the wheel and the track comes right back to you there.
Yeah, that off-camera turn there, that just throws you right back in there. But Lou, he started from the pit lane, Greg, and then worked his way all the way up. I was watching him earlier, almost into the top 10, and then now he's dropped back into 14th position. So had a little bit of an issue here by about 2 laps ago, where it just kind of dropped him back. Now he's got to work back to try to get in front of Tom Laurie. But again, coming off turn 10, just as you said, you definitely don't want to go too wide there. It's really not optimal in order to carry that speed down to the down that front stretch. But as we look at our leaders here with Kayla, Patry, and Jameson Huffman, Huffman trying to pull out just a little bit to try to either get some air to that nose or get off of Kayla Patry so that he can make sure he can hit that brake zone. It's about a car length and a half behind Kayla Patry, but again, in these MX5 compares, that's really nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and look for a moment there, and there you can see as Patry runs very wide, but all he's got to do is straighten up the wheel, and the track comes back to him there. It looked like Huffman was just, basically playing with Patry a little bit, saying, hey, I'm here as we go down, or maybe he thought he was going to miss his braking point and go right into the rear of the 198 machine. But at this point, it is a nice little 2-car breakaway. But look at this as we come down and out of turn 3, down the hill into the chute, side by side. It's Wozencroft and it's Effinger as they go through there. Effinger stuck to the outside, but he pushes Wozencroft very wide through turn 5. Wozencroft pretty lucky to be able to hold position there, but now if Effinger, and you see that Effinger, he got right back behind the 80 machine. I'll bet you, Brian, if he'd maybe stuck to the inside there, especially as you can see Effinger still a little bit, still trying to gather the car up. If Effinger was able to just kind of stick the nose underneath him going through 6B, might have really been able to throw the 80 of Wozencroft off his game and might have had a position by now as we jump a little further back up in the field.
Yeah, you're right there in that. And take it one step further. Had he stuck to the inside there going through 5, I think he probably would have had a better launch off. Again, not knowing the setup he had, he probably could have got a better launch off and then taken that. But, as we drop back here just a little bit, pretty good battle here with Wanchi Lin. Looks like this is Greg Mack, Wanchi Lin. That may even be Deacon Greenfield in there as well. So just a little bit further back is Greenfield, but Greg Mack, Wanchi Lin there. Pretty good battle there going down through turn 5 right now. That is for 7th and 8th place respectively.
That's right, and just ahead of them, Lockshine and Fike leading that pack. So that is the battle right now for 5th position, as that pack has really fallen off our lead pack of course, Patry now Patry and Huffman have really separated themselves out here as they come through turn 10, but I'll tell you, still locked nose to tail is Tom Pendergrass and Murphy Nichols. Didn't catch it, but Nichols made his way around Pendergrass. Just as I say that, looks like Nichols might have had some issues coming out of turn 10 as Pendergrass drove by like he was shot out of a cannon. But he's maybe trying to play with his brake bias a little bit. Let's take a look at the replay here, Brian, and see exactly what happened at 10.
Yeah, they come up underneath the bridge here, and again, Murphy Nichols got a pretty good sizable, gap on him there. Up, yep, definitely just goes way wide, tries to collect it. Again, up. Yeah, in real life, that would have been a little bit difficult to have gathered that up, but, in the sim, gathering it up, and again, it still looks like he's having some internet connection issues there because he just blinked out one more time. But let's drop back a little bit further, Greg, reset this whole Jordy Fike, Greg Mack, and Wanchi Lin battle along with Deacon Greenfield now. But Lockshine and Fike are the ones here battling, coming through 7, headed through 8 right now. And Jordy Fike about a car length and a half, but Jordy Fike's been getting through turn 10 pretty good the last couple laps, and that's helping him catch Lewis Lockshine headed down the front stretch. So let's see how he does here. But again, he's definitely getting through turn 10 just ever so slightly better than Lockshine. You can see that right there where he's able to just draft right back up to the rear bumper.
Yeah, right coming through the corner, he picks up maybe a quarter of a car length, and then of course he drafts back up. It looks like for the moment he's gonna stick there where he is, but he might have to defend as his teammate coming down the inside, Greg Mack, for a second looked like he was going to try to take the position over, and Wanchi Lin takes advantage of it as Greg Mack runs wide coming through turn 1. So does Deacon Greenfield, and through the whole thing there, it looks like trailing right back behind. And Greenfield loses the rear end. It looks like Greg Mack went around as well. I don't know if there was contact there, Brian, but it looked like they had a synchronized spin there going through the corner. I'd be a little surprised just past the apex like that if there hadn't been contact the way they both spun.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the replay, and here it is. That's going to show us the replay right here, and it does look like Greenfield's got a little bit of a advantage going into turn 3, but Mack just sticks it in there, and Greenfield does come down a little bit hard driver's left to try to make that turn. He was a little bit further out, so yeah, it's kind of a little bit on both drivers there at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd feel safe in calling that a racing incident, but Greenfield did not leave Greg Mack enough room there at the apex and just kind of came down on him. And now side by side, looks like Nichols has caught back up to Pendergrass as they come down into turn 1. You can see the noses dive on those two machines, on the 5 and the 23. And Brian, amazing how the grip levels are so much different now on lap number 12 versus lap number 1 and lap number 2, that there's actually some rear stick there as we've got just a little bit less than 5 minutes remaining in this 20-minute race.
Yeah, I think if it was lap 1 or lap 2 right there, I think you would have seen both of those back ends of those cars getting, pretty sideways coming there and having to hold on to it. As we pick up our leaders here with Jamison Huffman now leading Caleb Patry by about half a car length as they come through 6 and 7. Starting to get through there. Again, two drivers have got a lot of experience on this track in these cars, so they know the setups right there. It's just going to be about who's going to be able to get through turn 10, Greg, when we get down to that final lap, because I think that Jamison Huffman is a little bit better on the top end of the track, and Caleb Patry is a little bit better right in through here, able to make it stick just a little bit better. So again, who's going to get that draft as we come down to that checker here in a couple of minutes.
And you can see here poking out to the inside almost immediately after coming out of turn 10 is Caleb Patry. He's sticking the center of the track. It hasn't really opened up the corner any. Might give Huffman a little bit of an opportunity to do an over-under. And there we go as they come out of turn 2 and start to make their way down to turn 3. Huffman's got a nose up on Patry, but Patry's got position going into turn number 3 as they go through there side by side. And Brian, I think with now just about 3 minutes remaining and lap times in the 120 range thereabouts, we're looking at probably 3 laps to go. here as our drivers, now our leaders, coming through turn 5, and you can see Patrick pushing the 89 car out to the outside, giving him a little bit of an advantage on the run into the carousel there, and he's opened things up just a little bit as they come into turn number 8. But we'll see here as they come up the hill again. You know, the long straight here at Summit, it's kind of the equalizer. You can be a couple car lengths back and still manage to draft up by the time you get down to the braking zone.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Greg. You're exactly right. I think that little gap that we saw there coming through the carousel that Caleb Patrick had opened up, and that's because it seems like Jamison Huffman probably had to get on the brakes, or he would have been out into far driver's right there coming through 5 as Patrick's car started to wash out just a little bit. So in order to gather that back up, ended up having to just stab the brake a little bit longer than he really wanted to.
All right, let's jump back a little bit into this battle we've been watching. We've got now Wanchi Lin here leading the pack. Of course, he had his early offs before, had been up as high as 2nd earlier tonight. He is currently running in 5th with Jordy Fike, Zach Burke, Josh Soto, Lewis Lockshine in the orange and white 124 that had been leading this pack. He is now sitting at the tail end of the pack, now in 9th position as they start to make their run down. And we've got the two teammates, the 13 and the 9, Zach Burke and Jordy Fike, side by side going through the chute. Looks like Burke is going to hold off Fike for the moment here as Josh Soto looking for a way around as he's going to try and shove the car underneath the 9. And Brian, this is, of course, what I was talking about a little bit earlier when we were looking at Wozencroft and Effinger. And there you go, Soto, he gets the pass done on the 09 machine of Fike as our as we see them now come up the hill. But let's jump back over now as we have just a minute on the clock, which means when they cross the start-finish line, as they've just done, Brian, white flag in the air, we're on the last lap. And so Patrick all the way down to the inside, Huffman trying to pinch him to the inside as much as possible, and they go through for the 2nd lap in a row into turn 1, side by side.
Yeah, they go side by side through turn 1, come out of turn 2. Patrick's got about half a car length lead. Huffman's probably not in the most ideal spot, but he's going to have the line going in. That's actually going to set him up. It's going to make Patrick have to go really, really wide, but he gets a great run off of turn 3, Greg. He'd make that stuck as now they started to head into turn 4. Again, half a car length between Patrick and Huffman heading into the braking zone in turn 5. You can tell that Jamison Huffman has learned through driver school you want to keep that car to the left as to get it through 5, Greg, because he made up that half a car length over Caleb Patrick.
He did, but can we point out what an amazing pass that was that Patrick made through the gravel trap? I told you if you run off track there, you just straighten up the wheel and the track comes back to you. Well, he had that thing pegged and actually drove right around the outside of the 89 machine as they come down into the final corner, into turn 10 on the final lap. And as they make their run down to the checkered flag, it's Caleb Patrick. He's got about a half a car length on the 89 machine, and he is going to hold off Jamison Huffman for the win. So for 2 weeks in a row, Caleb Patrick is your winner in Spec Miata. Coming in 3rd, it is going to be Murphy Nichols. Finishing 4th is Tom Pendergrass. And now let's watch that battle for 5th and beyond. It's Wanchi Lin. He's going to finish 5th with Zach Burke in the 13 machine finishing right behind. Then Josh Soto, then Lewis Lockshine, then Zhao Lu making his way back up to 10th. And just out of the top 10, it is going to be Justin Huffman in the 223 machine. He's going to finish 11th. And look at this, crossing the line a little bit further back. Tom Laurie, he's going to finish 12th, having made up 3 positions tonight. Travis Trussell finishes 13th. Charles Vaccaro, Greg Mack, Joaquin Effinger, as we just saw in that all-black 700. He's going to finish right where he started in 16th position. Beans Forster, having that unfortunate start, finishes in 17th. John Casey finishes in 18th. All right, so there you go. That is your finish. Let's do this, Brian, because we've got them. They're sitting in the green room already. Let's bring out our 2nd place finisher tonight in Spec Miata, and that is the number 89 machine of Jamison Huffman.
Jamison Huffman, congratulations, finishing second here at Summit Point Motorsports Park in this MX5 race. I tell you what a great battle between you and Caleb tonight. Talk about this race and talk about what you had to do in order to try to figure out how to get by him.
It was definitely a fun race. The session definitely stepped down a little bit, which was the first problem that we had, was getting used to that new track because it jumped, I think, 20 degrees from practice on track temps. And he was putting up a good fight. I mean, I could try and set up a good run through a corner. I just couldn't get it. He would get the same run. So it was definitely tough trying to work around him and get past him.
Well, we could tell that on the front half of the racetrack, you were a little bit faster there, but especially on the back half of the racetrack, he was a little bit faster as well. And it seems like that happens week in and week out. And you're right, the track temperature went up from about 70 degrees at the start of the race to halfway through the race when we were looking at it. It went up to almost 100 degrees. Talk about the difficulties that comes into play during a 20-minute race.
Yeah, I think it got a lot more understeer, definitely, and the rear end was stepping out a lot. I think that was one of the things that made me slower in that second half of the track, is I kept sliding it a little bit too much, and he could keep it a little bit tighter, not scrub as much speed off, and just carry a little bit more speed up the hill.
All right. Well, again, Jamison Huffman, congratulations, finishing second here tonight at Summit Point Motorsports Park. Greg, I'm going to send it back over to you real quick.
All right, Brian, thank you very much, and congratulations, Jameson. Now, let's bring in somebody. We haven't spoken to him for a while, but had a very, very exciting race, finishing third tonight in the number 5 Smoketown Brewery machine, Murphy Nichols.
Murphy Nichols, congratulations, buddy, finishing that last spot on the podium. I tell you what, there was a little touch and go there for a little bit. There was a great battle there that you had pretty much all night long there with Thomas Pendergrass. Real quick, talk about what that battle and what you had to do in order to get back by him.
It was a fun battle for the most part. I wanted to try and work with him at the start to get back up to Caleb and Jamison, but I kind of sort of quickly realized, like, those guys are just quick. And I mean, Thomas is quick too, don't get me wrong, but I mean, those guys are on another level. So when it kind of got to the point where I knew we weren't going to catch him, I wanted just to try and, like, race him properly. But at the same time, like, I felt really bad because I know my internet was, at least according to him, being really crappy this race. So, like, I feel bad for him and everybody else with how bad it is. And I wish it was better. So that way, like, it's easier to race me, I guess.
Well, I think one of these days we're going to get you a Verizon Bio sponsorship or an Xfinity sponsorship there to get you up there. But no, again, listen, congratulations on finishing third here tonight at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. Murphy Nichols finishing third tonight. And let's finally, Brian, bring in Caleb Patry, your winner tonight in the number 198 Mazda MX-5.
Caleb Patrick, congratulations, finishing on the top spot here with the battle with Jamison Huffman. We talked about it with Jamison. We talked how the track changed from early onset when the green flag flew to about halfway through. The track temperatures went up. Talk about the setups in your race car and talk about what you had to do to keep Jamison behind you.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the race, it felt pretty good. Then, like you said, about halfway through, the thing started to push a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. Just kind of had to ease up a little bit. And Jamison and I were pretty much even the whole way, I felt. When he was behind me, he would pull up and draft. When he was in front of me, I'd pull up and draft. So I think it was pretty much anybody's game. It was just a matter of who was in the right place at the right time at the end. And thankfully, the move I put on him on the end there stuck.
Well, I tell you what, it was a great battle to watch, and it was a great way to end the night here at Summit Point Motorsports. So real quick, who do you want to thank tonight for this win?
Well, certainly Alliance Autosport. We're all racing in memory of Scott Reddick. We miss you. You guys, Apex Racing TV, for the awesome broadcast. All Sports Racing for their support, and Team Watson Racing Setups.
All right. Well, again, Caleb Patrick, congratulations on your win here tonight at Summit Point Motorsports Park. And Greg, I will send it back over to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian. And thank you, Caleb, and congratulations. And again, amazing pass through the gravel. I don't know in the real world if that would survive the steward's keen eye, but it was a heck of a pass anyhow. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little break and thank some of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to have our second race of the evening, our Spec Racer Fords. And wanted to, of course, beg and plead with you. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell to find out about all the great virtual motorsports action that we have for you 7 days a week. And of course, you can find out more about Apex Racing TV on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook by searching just one word, Apex Racing TV. So we'll be back in just a few moments from Summit Point Motorsports Park and the Summit Point Circuit, and we'll have that Spec Racer Ford race for you coming up next.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
And we are back here at Summit Point Motorsports Park and the Summit Point Circuit just outside of Washington, D.C. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Brian Donati, and next up is going to be our Spec Racer Ford race, and we've got the drivers out on track now, just about 6.5 minutes into their 15-minute qualifying session. So, Brian, we've got some things going on tonight, and I think Caleb might have offhand had mentioned a little bit of it during his interview. So let's quickly take a look back at our previous, some of our previous races. We're going to look first back at RE2, the USF 2000 cars. They've got the week off, but they did race last week at Road America. And so we had Morgan Burkhardt on the pole. We had Connor Vogel in his very first outing here in the Ray Esports Racing League. Of course, we've had John and Grant, father and son. We had Nagisa Yoshikawa and Jamison Huffman making up row number 3. And from the very start of the race, shooting up the inside, we had Brian, as much as we were talking about how things looked going like 3 wide down through the chute here, the start of the RE2 race, we had 3 wide going down into turn 1. We had Burkhardt on the outside. Burkhardt to the inside. We had Vogel to the outside, and Caleb Patry was trying to shoot the gap from the center. He and Connor Vogel got together. Both drivers went off, and essentially it was the end of their race. They did not even make it to turn 1 here in RE2 at Road America. But after that happened, the excitement didn't really end. And I'll tell you, when this happened, essentially what basically Patry was between the 2 Vogels. As I mentioned, Connor Vogel driver's left, but John Vogel was driver's right. John made a little bit of a move over to driver's left, and Patry perhaps overreacted and had that impact. But John Vogel, he wasn't done with the excitement because going down into turn number 3 on that very first lap, he and Zhao Liu both got together. Liu had started off on row number 4, had a great start, and unfortunately he then ended up in the grass and fell all the way back through the field. He actually made his way, finished in 8th position, made a good recovery run. But then finally things started to calm down. It was Burkhardt, it was Yoshikawa, and they started to stretch their advantage on the rest of the field. They maintained about a 2-second advantage, more or less all the way to the end of the race. And Burkhardt was able to hold off Yoshikawa at the end, took the win. Vogel and Jamison Huffman were swapping positions multiple times as this all was going on, with John Vogel finally securing the last step on the podium, having made an amazing pass coming down the inside of Jamison Huffman in that very heavy braking turn 5 at Road America on the last lap. And so it was Burkhardt, Yoshikawa, Vogel, your top 3, Jamison Huffman, Jason Wilson, then Justin Huffman, then finishing in 6th position. We also had Fike, and I mentioned Lou had finished in 8th. And so let's now take a look, and it's going to be a lot further back. This is now 3 weeks ago for the Spec Racer Fords. They're on track, as you can see right now. They last raced at Lime Rock Park right before the bye week, and we had Jamison Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt on the front row. We had Justin Huffman starting 3rd, Patry and Grant Vogel making up 4th and 5th, and John Vogel and Murphy Nichols starting 5th and 6th, making up your 3rd row. And we've already talked about this race, so let's do this. And I think I forgot to do it, but we're going to take a look at the points, and sorry about doing this to you, Dennis. Let's take a look at the points in RE2 and they've raced now, I believe, 4 of their 6 races. 82 points, tied for the championship right now, Jamison Huffman and John Vogel, with Morgan Burkhardt sitting 3rd with 73 points, Jordy Fike with 62, Justin Huffman with 58. And in the Spec Racer Fords, that race at Lime Rock Park, Morgan Burkhardt took the win, margin of victory 28 seconds over Jamison Huffman, who pulled out a pass on the very last lap over his father Justin, and managed to hold off the father by 0.3 of a second at the line. Wilson finished in 4th, Jordy Fike finished 5th, and if we take a look at the points, now Morgan Burkhardt leads the championship in Spec Racer Ford. Now thing is, Morgan Burkhardt, he is not here this evening. And so with only a 6-point advantage over Caleb Patry, we may see a change in the championship lead this week, Brian. Jamison Huffman currently sitting third in the championship with 70 points, Grant Vogel with 65, and Justin Huffman with 60 points, sitting fifth in the championship. So there you go. That is the rundown as we're now about 3 minutes out, and you can see now Zhao Lu is your provisional pole sitter at a 118 flat, about 0.3 of a second, a little bit more than, actually about 0.35 of a second up on Caleb Patry, with Wan Chi Lin third fastest, Jamison Huffman fourth fastest, and great to see this Stephen Beardsley, who had a great run at Mid-Ohio a number of weeks ago, and it all kind of fell apart for him on the very last lap, if you remember. Here, he is currently qualified in fifth. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a look, and what we're going to do, because we're going to change things up just a little bit here, Brian. I wanted to mention now, while we're still here in qualifying, and we've got about 2 minutes left in qualifying, our sponsor for tonight's Spec Racer Ford race, and that is Spec Racer Sports. Spec Racer Sports' mission is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. They feel that the way to accomplish this is by providing exceptional customer support, the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair, competitive price. Spec Racer Sports currently stables Spec Racer Fords and offers rental cars that are exceptionally prepared, and they are also located trackside at Motorsports Ranch Houston, with access to the track for a rental or test drive being easily arranged. In addition to new car sales, storage, and support, a complete complement of technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication are offered at very competitive rates. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, head on over to specracersports.com. All right, Brian, so we've got just about a minute left in qualifying, and maybe a bit of a surprise to see Zihao Lu as your provisional pole sitter.
Well, he's pretty quick early on, Greg, in the last race, and then unfortunately had to start it from the pit lane. So not too much of a surprise that he's up front. Evidently he's got, his setups worked out here for this week here at Summit Point. Caleb Patry sitting there in second place, about 4/10 behind. So pretty big gap there that Lou has over the field. You say, wow, it's only 4/10. 4/10 in a Spec Racer Ford, that's a lot.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge, and on a 2-mile course. Oh, look at that. Justin Huffman goes for the huge ride that we saw Wan Chi Lin doing the MX-5s. Here. Now, another racer joining us tonight in the number 11 machine, and he's currently qualified 7th, is Stevie Ray. He is the Ray in Ray Esports Racing. There he is driving this evening what is on the timing tower showing is the number 11 car, but you can see there listed as the number 17 machine, and he is driving the livery of Scott Reddick, the owner and purveyor of Alliance Autosport, our longtime sponsor here of the Ray Esports Racing League. And we're going to talk about this in just a few moments, but as we have a bit of a tribute, unfortunately, Scott passed away this past week, and it came as a very huge shock to the racing world. He was not only a business owner and obviously sponsor of the league, but a very, very accomplished racer, and we'll speak about that in just a moment here. And I'd like to say, of course, because the loss of Scott, very, very tragic. I wanted to, and unfortunately we don't have a graphic to put up here, but I want to point you all to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's a U.S.-based suicide prevention network of over 160 crisis centers that provides 24/7 service via a toll-free hotline. The phone number is 800-273-8255 or 800-273-TALK. It's available to anyone in a suicidal crisis or having emotional distress. And so many times the people that you look to that seem to reach out to and help others so much and provide so much joy to other people sometimes neglect themselves. And I want you all to know that we're always listening. If you need, you can always reach out to us, but certainly if you find yourself in need of help, please reach out to professionals. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. And with that, Brian, why don't we run down the starting grid, and then we'll talk about the honor that we're befitting upon Scott.
Okay, well, we'll do this really quickly. We'll get to the top 10 at least, and then we'll give us some time here. So starting on the pole is that Xiao Lu in that 0:53 with that time of 1:18.031. Pretty good lap there. Starting outside on the front row is the number 30 of Wan Chi Lin. Starting third inside of the row 2 is the 198 of Caleb Patry. Starting outside row 2 is Jamison Huffman. Starting in the 5th position is the Stephen Beardsley in the number 9. Starting 6th in the number 17 tonight is Stevie Ray. Starting 7th on the inside of the row 4 is going to be the 223 of Justin Huffman, and starting in the 8th position is Beans Forster in the 231. Starting in the 9th position in the number 221 is Charles Vaccaro. Starting in the 10th position in the number 194 is Brian Smalls. Starting the 11th is the 13th of Zach Burke. Starting 12th is the number 5 of Murphy Nichols. Starting 13th is going to be the number 4 of John Vogel. Starting 14th is John Wilson. And again, my screen has completely gone blank, Greg, so we will refresh here and we will try this one more time.
All right. Yeah, let's try and pick up after Wilson here, who I believe was starting 13th. Or probably 14th. Then we've got Nagisa Yoshikawa 15th, Jordy Fike 16th, Grant Vogel 17th, Austin Knight, one of our announcers on the Apex Racing TV network. He is going to be starting 18th tonight. Greg Mike 19th. Justin Claudery, a real-life Spec Racer Ford racer. He's going to be starting 20th tonight. Andrew Wozencroft 21st. Travis Trussell 22nd. Tom Laurie 23rd. Joaquin Effinger 24th. And then we've got John Casey and Josh Justice. They'll be starting 25th and 26th. And then Deacon Greenfield rounding out the field in 27th. And so Stevie Ray, as you can see, he is leading the field around for this pace lap. He is going to be dropping back to take his rightful position when we take the green flag. But again, he is racing the same livery that Scott Reddick for so long raced from Alliance Autosport. And why don't we just talk a little bit about Scott. Born in 1994, he started karting at age 12, and within 2 years had already won his first of 5 championships with the World Karting Association. And then he started racing with the Sports Car Club of America in 2005. And although his initial season was nothing to write home about, his second season racing cars, he took the Central Division Championship in Formula Mazda, went on to win both the June sprints as well as the National Championship runoffs this year, garnering the coveted Triple Crown Award. And since that time, he repeated as a Triple Crown winner and won 6 SCCA Formula Enterprise or Formula Enterprise 2 championships, including his last one this past October at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's also raced the 24 Hours of Daytona, and in 2011 he founded Alliance Autosport, our partner and our sponsor, providing not only the services we've spoken of many times here, but serving as a mentor to racers and other shop owners alike. And Scott is survived by his wonderful wife, Rebecca, and the entire Sports Car Club of America family. So, Scott, may you have found peace that you were looking for, and may God rest his eyes on you. So we now have the green flag here in Spec Racer Ford. Xiao Lu to the inside in the orange number 053. Wan Chi Lin in the orange and white machine, the number 30 to the outside as they come down into turn 1 for the first time. Caleb Patry sticking his nose down the inside. He's going to try to get around Wan Chi Lin, almost in a repeat of what we saw in the Spec Miata race, Brian. Then Jamison Huffman running a special livery right now in the 89 machine. Right behind Huffman, we've got Stephen Beardsley and Stevie Ray running in 6th as they all start to fan out, coming through 3 and heading down into the chute.
Yeah, I tell you what, they start to head down to the chute, Greg, turn 4 into turn 5. Kayla, Patrick, James, and Huffman, they were nose to tail trying to get past Lou there going in. Lou holding them off as we take a little bit further back. Again, still everybody side by side, pretty much tiptoeing through. We saw this early on in the earlier race. You've got to take it easy on this first lap to get through here. But this is the type of machine that the draft is really going to help you as we still go a little bit further back, still side by side, coming through turn 9, up the hill, underneath the bridge into turn 10, and everybody's starting to get single file quickly. That's the only way you're going to make up ground here, Greg. If you stay double file, you're not going to get any ground. You're only going to lose ground.
That's right. As we watch Deacon Greenfield and Austin Knight doing just that, coming through turn 10. Now, a little bit earlier, coming through 6A, a great pass that I noticed Justin Clardy getting around Jordy Fike to move up into 19th position as we watch our leaders now. And you see still a lot of side-by-side racing, but starting to get in line, at least at the front of the pack, as Patry, Lou, Huffman, Wanshi Lin drops back into 4th position. And then that second pack, you can see there, it is Stevie Ray now leading that field. Stevie Ray having made up a position, he's now sitting 5th. And then we had Beans Forster in the blue and yellow number 231, and Zach Burke, who were side by side. Burke in the black and yellow machine as they went through turn 3. They've now finally got back in line a little bit further back though, and we can see taken to the grass just a little bit. The 221 of Vaccaro is he might have gotten moved a little bit to the inside by Murphy Nichols. Nagase Yoshikawa gets around him. That is the battle for 10th. And little bit of a surprise here as we watch John Vogel. You can see they're just coming over the crest in that black number 4 machine. Vogel now sitting all the way back in 12th position. Didn't get the qualifying time I'm sure he wanted.
Yeah, as we take a little bit further back, Greg, Stevie Ray holding on to defending with Zach Burke and Forrester, and now throw in Stephen Beardsley here. You talked about Stephen Beardsley earlier having a good run there at Mid-Ohio until the very end. He started off really strong here as our front 4 guys start to pull away a little bit with Lou, Patry, Huffman, and Wanshi Lin. Now Wanshi Lin able to make that pass coming out of turn 2 over, looks like Jameson Huffman, but Huffman's going to start to fight back going up into turn 3. Ended up having a little bit better of a preferred line. Now as we fall back just a little bit further, Zach Burke able to get in front of Stevie Ray. Beans Force still trying to get in front of Stevie Ray a little bit further back. Beardsley is side by side with Justin Huffman and Murphy Nichols as they head down the chute into turn 5, Greg.
There we go. And as Nichols comes down the inside against the 223 of Justin Huffman, Huffman just leaving the door open there, and Nichols trying to take advantage of it. Now, if we look just ahead of those 2 cars, we were talking about that battle with Beans Forster and Stevie Ray, and Forster gave this huge, not a little wiggle, but a huge wiggle coming through 3, and he had dropped a little bit off the pace, but again, with the strong drafter, is able to move back up. Also moving up, I talked about him just a few moments ago, John Vogel in that black number 4, the Carrier air conditioning machine. He now heads up and takes over 10th position. He's moved up 3 positions from the start, but it looks like Huffman's not done with him.
Yeah, it looks like Vogel and Huffman still going to go side by side. I tell you what, Vogel's going to be able to. Vogel misses the turn completely, Greg. Goes all the way up into the sand trap there, almost to the tire wall.
Lots of brake lock up from him, and off he went.
Yeah, it just barely. I mean, just like the car wouldn't even turn. It got on the brakes a little hard there, Greg. There was no stopping that car.
And another move, and I think Jameson Huffman might have learned something from Caleb Patry that last race, because I think I just saw him make that pass through the gravel on the exit of 3 to get around Wanshi Lin. As we have the 13 machine as Zach Burke, he goes off to the outside of turn number 5. He's going to drop a number of positions. He falls back all the way to 18th position. Let's see if we've got a better angle on it as he comes down the hill just ahead of Stevie Ray. Gets on the curbing at 4, which is never a good thing, and you can see there just had the rear end walk around on him. But that curbing at the apex of 4, going down through the chute, Brian, is probably the most elevated, is the highest curbing on this entire circuit, and it certainly can upset a car that is has most of its weight in the rear, like a Spec Racer Ford.
Yeah, in some of these cars, you can use the throttle to get over top of that. I know in the Spec Racer Ford, though, if you hit that just right, you're right. It's not going to matter if you get back on the throttle, just try to set the nose of the car to do it. That back end's still going to come around on you.
All right, looks like Stevie Ray's lost a couple more positions now as Stephen Beardsley and Beans Forster both get around him. So move Forster now up into 5th position. Beardsley in the 6th. Stevie Ray drop him down to 7th, and we'll see if Forster hopefully has a little stronger showing than he did in the Spec Miatas. That race did not end the way he wanted it to. It ended up with him a lap down after having been right up towards the front of the field. But a great battle right now between he and Beardsley as they've got a long way to go, though, to get up to Wan Chi Lin. Almost 5 seconds, actually a little bit over 4 seconds separating them from our top 4 drivers.
Yeah, we drop a little bit further back here, and it seems like every week we're talking about this, especially whenever we have our Spec Racer Ford. Justin Huffman and Charles Vaccaro, they are nose to tail trying to get ahead of Yoshikawa. They start to pull away. That is for 9th, 10th, and 11th. Grant Vogel, he's coming into the picture now as well, trying to get by Charlie Vaccaro as now they're headed down into turn 1. About a car length between Vaccaro and Grant Vogel. That's 11th and 12th.
Yeah, as Vogel is trying to make that, trying to make his way up. Of course, John Vogel quite a bit further back in 21st after going off at turn 1, but maybe Grant a little bit further back than I expected as well. He's made up 5 positions so far, sitting in 12th, as you mentioned. As we jump back over to this lead pack here, we're sitting on board with Wan Chi Lin, currently sitting 4th, right back behind Jamison Huffman, then Caleb Patry, and then Zhao Lu in the 053 machine, who has worked his way back up into the lead.
Yeah, I tell you what, great onboard camera shots right there to watch Wan Chi Lin, watching how having to handle those hands to get through that carousel. It's not an easy. Our front 4 now has started to pull away as Beans Forster starts to go a little bit wide coming out of 9, Greg, and that is not a place you want to be, and that's going to open that up, and Stephen Beardsley is just going to drive on by coming through turn 10. So Forster dropping back now. He dropped back from 5th to 6th. We're taking that a little bit wide as we've got a change here for the lead going down into turn 1. Caleb Patry over Lou. Now Jameson Huffman, he's going to jump into the fray with that, as well as Wan Chi Lin. Those front 4, Greg, they've opened up about a 6-second lead over Beardsley and Forster.
Yeah, and of course having Forster go off that last time certainly didn't help the cause there. Although he didn't fight with Beardsley going into 10, just kind of drop back in line. So hopefully they can make their way back up to the rest of the pack here. But Patrick and I'm starting to have flashbacks to our very first race as we saw Patrick make the move on Zhao Lu going down into turn 1. And then Lou fighting back, but not able to get up alongside. And, what I noticed is Lou went and almost immediately moved the car all the way back over driver's right, setting up for turn 3. And it opened up the corner quite a bit more for Patry, and maybe gave Patry a bit of the advantage going into 3, that it didn't compromise his entry or exit nearly as much as it could have if Lou had maybe held him a little bit more to the inside. But here we go, side by side by side by side. It is Forster and Beardsley. It is Nichols and Stevie Ray as they go 2 by 2 down into turn number 1, as Forster manages for the moment to inch by the number 9, and then it looks like Murphy Nichols, he's going to try and hold the 9 out and see if he can take over the position. But now, for a moment I thought it was going to be 3 wide, as Beardsley has not given up the fight. He's going to stick to the inside around the number 5 machine, but it's going to get a lot more difficult as they come down into the chute. As we jump back over to the battle for the lead, and look at this, Brian, a huge change as Jamison Huffman, the last time we checked in, he was running in 3rd. He is now your leader. Lou drops back to 2nd. Wan Chi Lin, who had been sitting 4th, he's moved up a position. He's now 3rd. And Caleb Patry, who had been our leader the last time we looked, he is now sitting in 4th position. Hopefully Dennis can show us exactly what happened.
Well, wait to see if we can get that. Here we go. Here's the replay. So
Asking you shall receive.
Yeah, looks like he just got a really good run coming up out of 2, going through 3, Greg, and that just propelled him up in front of those cars. So again, pretty good battle. Here we go. Like I said, coming out of turn 2, a little bit further back. Just able to get it and just took it. Again, the sim doesn't do itself justice. If you were to sit there and take that that line out of turn 3 coming through there,
the whole
in real life,
all 4 of them would have been gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I was going to pick up on before we jumped back up into that lead pack there was they're coming back down through the chute one more time, side by side, Lou and Huffman. That is going to open the door for Wanchi Lin. He's got to be sitting there just with a big old smile on his face just watching these two go at it, because that's not something you want to do going into turn 5. But, just a little bit further back, we were talking about Forrester and Beardsley and Nichols and Stevie Ray going side by side as well. With these front 4 battling, it would be almost, for them to stay nose to tail, because that's going to help them bring them up to them as they start to do that. So that second pack going side by side, that's allowing our leaders to pull out even further.
Yeah.
Because now they've started to open up the gap almost to 5.5 seconds instead of 4
Here we go,
seconds.
Brian. Is it going to be 4 wide going in the 1? Oh, it looked like it was going to be for a second as Patry had designs of going between Zhao Lu and Wan Chi Lin. And then
we're still not over.
All of a sudden, the gap just completely closed down on Caleb Patry. But we've got we've got Lin to driver's right. We've got Lou to driver's left. Right back behind them, we've got the 2 teammates. We've got Patry and we've got Huffman. It looks like Huffman now, he's decided to hold off at least for the moment. But Patry, he's going to try to come down underneath Wan Chi Lin. I don't think he's close enough to do it as they go into turn 4. Oh,
there he goes.
And we have going around, it is Zhao Lu and Caleb Patry. Looked like there was contact there coming at the apex of turn number 4. Lu now drops back to 4th position. Patry sitting in, there we go. And look at that, as Lu had the car almost completely around, gathers it back up in the grass just before the apex of 5. And I'm amazed. I mean, that Brian, is car control.
I tell you what, Greg, he has not lost that lead draft either. You would think that at that point in time, he would lose those front 3, but he is right there because they will start to battle again, and that is just going to, get him right back up in there as we got, we drop back a little bit further to Bean Forrester, Murphy Nichols, and now you've got Stevie Ray and Beardsley again. As they go side by side, there's another car, the 82 car, has just come out of the pits there, so that's going to play a little bit into our group as well, and that's going to be John Wilson in that 82. So he's going to get into the mix of that, even though that's going to be a lap down here any minute. But Forrester holding off Beardsley, Ray, and Nichols as they come up into turn 3 and up over that hill, and they're going to head down to the chute too, as they're going to probably go side by side, Greg.
That's it, with 6 minutes remaining. And and you said it, Brian, if these guys here in this second pack weren't so hell-bent on battling from pretty much the drop of the green flag, and you saw right completing the first lap as Stevie Ray was defensive, driving center of track all the way down the front straight to hold off the guys behind him, they probably could have made their way back up to our lead pack, as we saw Zhao Lu going side by side with Wan Chi Lin through turn 10 2 laps ago. I mean, and obviously these guys going 2 by 2 pretty much everywhere around the track. As we've got Huffman now, he is your leader with Caleb Patry running second, and then Wan Chi Lin coming down the inside. And you can see, Brian, that second pack, they're starting to close things in, but they're still about 5.5, 6 seconds back from the lead pack, and I'm amazed that they haven't made up more ground at this point.
Yeah, with kind of right at 5 minutes left to go, you would think that they would need to get back to single file there, because these front 4, well, they're not going to go single file. And I was just getting ready to say, as they came through turn 10, Jameis and Huffman had about a 3, almost 4 car length lead coming out of there, but now Wan Chi Lin has kind of closed that gap along with Caleb Patry, and Zhao Lu is now, it looks like Caleb Patry may have gone off into turn 5 there. So he's going to drop back to that second group as
and going
Beardsley
off as
goes off.
Beardsley as well. Beardsley now drops a wheel, and so that's going to change things up considerably here as Patry, when he rejoins in 5th, Stevie Ray in 6th, Yoshikawa 7th, Justin Huffman now in 8th, and Murphy Nichols, who had that earlier off, he now falls back in the 9th position. Charles Vaccaro coming up into that lead battle as well, just a little bit further back in that blue and red machine here. So big changes, and now is here, let's take a look at the replay here, Brian, and see exactly what happened. It was Stevie Ray who initially went down through the grass, went off at turn 4 on the outside of the chute, as he came up behind Beardsley and Nichols. And Beardsley, I don't know what happened there, as Beardsley went off driver's left, came right across, and we've got more problems there coming through the carousel. I mean, lots and lots of changes that last lap.
It's like somebody just threw the water out on the racetrack trying to get through the chute down into turn 5. But we pick up Jameson Huffman here again with Wanchi Lin, Xiao Lu. Again, they're going to put on a lap car.
And that's Wozencroft, I think, in the black number 700 that they work around coming through 5. But it is, as you can see, a 3-car battle now for the lead with Huffman, Lin, and Lu. Beans Forster still almost now 6.7 seconds back from this lead pack, and it seems like nothing he can do to get, no matter how much the car is up front battle, that he just can't get up, can't make up that ground, as we've got now just a little bit less than 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah, going to be a pretty good battle here. We've talked about it. You've got, as they start to go too wide here between Huffman and Lin. Lin's going to have that line coming out of turn 2. It's going to see whether or not Huffman's going to be able to hold that line through there, because he's definitely going to have the preferred line coming out of 2, Greg. How much faster Wanchi Lin is, and is he going to have to touch the brake a little bit more to try to get in? We saw this earlier on, and there we go, Greg. We saw it early on in the race before. That is not a position you want to be on the outside with somebody on the inside. The back end of these cars later in the race, they will come around. I'm not sure if there was any contact there. We'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, let's see here as they come up out of turn 2, make the run down to turn 3. Lin giving a lot of room to the inside to Huffman, and almost exactly what we saw early in the MX5 race, where we had Greenfield get together with another driver, as Huffman just came down towards the apex, and there was another car already there occupying the space. And so Huffman goes off. Wanchi Lin inherits the lead. Xiao Lu, who is our pole sitter tonight, sits in 2nd. And what was a 4-car battle, now with a minute and a half remaining, is simply a 2-car battle, as don't see the white flag there, Brian. So it looks like we've got 2 laps remaining now, and a little bit further back, we're watching now Beans Forster as he now makes his way. He's getting around that 700 car of getting around the Wozencroft machine, but Beans Forster now in the 231 machine finds himself, if he can make his way to the checkered flag unencumbered, he may take the last step on the podium here.
I tell you what, Greg, and I don't think it's out of thing to say, he may end up picking the win here, because Lu and Lin are going at it tooth and nail. Now Lu's going to get a little bit of the head of Wanchi Lin. Wanchi Lin, I think, got on the brakes just a little bit harder just to try to set up that pass to get a good run off of turn 5. So Wanchi Lin may be having a little bit of a challenge, having some forward bite coming out of turn 5 and into turn 6. So got on the brakes there a little bit harder, but now he's going to drop back by about a car length and a half behind Lu. But if these two go at it here, I think we should be getting the white flag right here, Greg. Yeah. Beans Forster could be sitting in the best ideal spot.
There we go, and you can see it now. White flag is in the air. Xiao Lu, our pole sitter, he has worked his way back to the lead. Wanchi Lin now jumps to the inside. They're going to go side by side, hard down into turn number 1, and you can see Lou later on the brakes, but Wan Lin owned the corner. He had position. He was able to hold Lou off, and now Lou makes a last-second lunge to do an over-under. Does not have the pace with that positioning, and Lin now going to have position going into turn number 3. Let's see, though. Last time by, going down into the chute. This is exactly where Lou got around Wan Lin. Jumped to the inside. He holds Lin out to that low grip outside of the chute as they go into turn number 5. Is Lin going to push Lou to the outside? He can't. And as they go into the carousel for the very last time, finally, 4 corners later, Zhao Lu, he is your new leader. So only 3 more corners remain. Actually, 2 more corners remain here at Summit Point Raceway as Zhao Lu leads Yuan Lin up the hill towards the bridge. Lin with a great run, though, and they're going to go side by side through turn 10 on the very last lap. And as they come out, a little bit of a touch as they come down the front straight, and it is close as they continue to rub, and taking the win, Zhao Lu. Wan Lin finishes second. Wan Lin launches into the stratosphere, and finishing third, it is going to be Beans Forster. Finishing 4th, Caleb Patry. He recovers and finishes just off the podium. Jameson Huffman there in the 89 machine. He's going to finish 5th. Nagisa Yoshikawa, he's going to come home in 6th. Stevie Ray finishes in 7th. Justin Huffman, he will finish 8th. Murphy Nichols makes up 3 positions from the start, started 12th, finishes in 9th. And Charles Vaccaro, he will come home tonight in 10th position with Jordy Fike, Justin Clordy, Brian Schmaltz, John Vogel, Andrew Wozencroft rounding out the top 15. Wow. Brian, for a moment there, I didn't know if either of our top 2 podium finishers were actually going to make it to the checkered flag, but there wasn't all the beating and banging. I think that's kind of the difference at Road America. You've got, you've got that uphill run coming out of turn 14 at Road America, but you still got a real long run down to the checkered flag. And here, we say that the front straight here is 3/4 of a mile, but the run out of turn 10 to the checkered flag quite a bit shorter than that. A great battle side by side. Wan Lin had that great run coming up the hill, and if you were going to go through turn 10 side by side, that was the time to do it.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was basically set up. Wan Lin had to try to make sure that he could try to get the good setup coming out of turn 9, Greg, to get through turn 10 the best he can. You're right. It wasn't a whole lot of beating and banging, but there was sure a heck of a lot of leaning going on with Lin on Lou. So great finish.
Yeah, great finish. All right, so we've got our 3 podium finishers sitting in the green room. Brian, why don't we start off with Beans Forster, driver of the number 231 machine, finishing 3rd tonight in Spec Racer Ford.
Beans Forster, congratulations, finishing on the last spot here in position number 3 at Motorsports Park. I tell you what, there for a while, you were kind of sitting in the driver's seat. May not have seemed like it from your view, but it definitely seemed like it from our view as the leaders were going back and forth. Talk about your race tonight and talk about what you had to do to keep pretty much a whole entire pack behind you.
Oh man, that was definitely very nerve-wracking. These cars, just a little tiny bump and it can send you off into the side. And like that moment when Murphy kind of got a little sideways in front of me, I surprisingly avoided that. It was just keep my head calm, keep the car on track, don't spin out. And that was kind of what my goal was.
Well, I tell you what, you dropped back a little bit, on the start. I think you were sitting there probably 5th or 6th at one point in time and then worked your way back up. And I know that there was some incidents there, but you're right. You kept your head down, kept your nose clean, and you kept digging. Who do you want to thank tonight here for finishing up on that 3rd place?
I want to just thank you guys for putting on the broadcast and thank everyone here racing. One of the best crew of guys that I can ever hope for to race with. Everyone tries to stay so clean. And it's some of my favorite racing that I could do here on iRacing.
All right. Well, again, congratulations finishing 3rd here at Summit Point Motorsports Park. Bean Forster, Greg, I'm going to send it back over to you.
All right, there you go. Beans Forrester finishing third tonight, and I think we mentioned he just got signed on by Driver 61 as a driver coach. So congratulations, Beans. You deserve it, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Let's move over now to our second place finisher, driver of the number 30 machine, Wan Shi Lin.
Wan Shi Lin, congratulations finishing second here at Summit Point Motorsports Park in our SRF class tonight. I tell you what, man, what a battle you guys had with Lou. I tell you what, I wasn't sure who was going to pick up that win, but what a battle and what a definitely run you had. Talk about that run.
Yeah, me and Zihao raced a few times in official races, so I kind of know what his strategy and his line is. But I think I was a little bit too conservative, trying to not hit him. But he actually went around me on the left-hand hairpin. I was a little bit surprised. I mean, the finish straight is pretty short here. I can't just sit back behind him and hoping that I'll drive past him. So I just went for it on the last turn. And
Well,
yeah.
I tell you what, you look like you tried to really work hard on that last lap to set him up, come out of 8, coming out of 9 to come up the hill, up underneath the bridge. I really thought there for a moment you were going to go ahead and make that stick, especially coming out of turn 10. It seemed like you were able to propel just a little bit faster than him, but he had just that much more of a little bit of a lead coming into 10 in order to hold you off there.
Yeah, that's quite true. I mean, sometimes I try not to hit other people. That's my priority. Sometimes I don't really push it that hard when even though I had the inside on a turn. You know, it's a little bit unfortunate between me and Jamieson. I know because he was really strong on the outside of turn 3. I know he's gonna go around the outside, so I brake a little bit more. I downshifted, but I guess that just put my nose on his rear quarter panel. That was a bummer. It was a really good fight between also with Caleb.
Well, I tell you what, Wan Shi Lin, great race tonight. Congratulations finishing second here at Summit Point Motorsports Park. Greg, with that, I'll send it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian, and congratulations to Wan Shi Lin coming in second tonight. Let's move over now to our winner, Xiao Lu, driver of the number 053 machine.
Xiao Lu, I tell you what a run you had tonight. I got to tell you, the move of the race has got to be the save you had coming out of the chute there. About halfway through the race with about 5 minutes left to go, that dropped you all the way back to fourth, and then just put your head down and kept after it. Talk about that save that you had coming out of turn 4, headed down into turn 5.
Yeah, I think the cars still have grip out of the corner. A little bit annoying contact with Caleb, but it's okay. It is what it is. I think I leave enough space to him, and he had no room. He actually he told me in the race he's on the curb. So yeah, I think that just because the car has grip, so I just save it and recover it.
Well, I tell you what, you did more than save it. You actually kept it, and that, like we were talking about during the broadcast. That is definitely the move of the race. And early on there, you had a lot of momentum to the front part of the track, and what I mean the front part of the track there, between turns 1 and turns 3, you really had a lot of speed coming off the corner. So you had a lot more forward bite. It seemed that Wan Shi Lin, after about halfway, had more forward bite coming off, the back half of the racetrack, turns 8, turn 9, and turn 10. What did you have to do to try to really keep him behind you, knowing that was happening?
I think I'm usually trying for finding the grip for this car, because this car is extremely understeer for this generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just trying to find grip, and yeah, I think it doesn't lose any speed for coming out outside, especially for turn 1. And I gotta make a move for the hairpin, because you gotta stick to the inside for the next corner. So yeah, I just trying barely find the grip. I almost actually for the previous laps, I almost lose my car, and yeah, just trying to find the threshold for the braking zone.
Well, I tell you what, that was a fantastic race tonight. Diaolu, I tell you what, congratulations. First place here at Summit Point Motorsports Park. Who do you want to thank tonight for this win?
I'm not gonna celebrate too much for this one, and especially gonna thanks for Stevie, and especially Apex Racing TV, you guys, for the great broadcasting, and especially for this race. This win is for Scott Reddit, uh, for his pass. It's pretty sad news, and especially Yuan Xi, my teammate, is gonna be thanks for his setup. And yeah, it's a great win, but yeah, it's a win. It's a win for Scott.
All right. Well, I think we all echo those sentiments there. So again, congratulations tonight on winning here at Summit Point Motorsports Park. And with that, Greg, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you to Xiao Lu, our winner tonight in the High G Sim Racing number 053, taking the win in Spec Racer Ford. And as we wrap things up here, Brian, as our winner mentioned, Scott Reddick. Of course, we talk about Alliance and their sponsorship of the RE2 class, but and I talked quite a bit about Scott's many championships in club racing in the Formula Enterprises and Formula Enterprises 2 classes, but he was also a stellar Spec Racer Ford racer, finishing just off the top step of the podium at the national championship runoffs a number of times, and more importantly, he was a wonderful person. I would highly recommend to you to please, I don't want to direct you to other sites, but please, if you go to SCCA.com, on the front page there is a link to a great podcast by my friend Brian Belansky, who produces the Inside the SCCA podcast, and they put together a special episode this past Friday with a number of folks that have worked with, who have driven for, and have been friends with Scott Reddick over the years. Tora Bonnier, Stevie Ray was on the show, as well as Frank Schwartz and a number of other people that worked with him, and a really wonderful tribute to the great man, the great racer, the great businessman, and the great family man as well, Scott Reddick. And again, I want to remind everybody that the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a U.S.-based suicide prevention network, and they've got over 160 different crisis prevention centers providing 24/7 service. And all you need to do, if you need help, if you need somebody to listen, please reach out. The phone number is 800-273-TALK or 800-273-8255. And so moving on, a little hard, very hard for me to transition at this point, but please join us next week. We have just 2 weeks left in the regular season. Next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to be at the Circuit of the Americas. We are going to have both the Spec Racer Fords. If you enjoyed the race that you just saw here tonight, they're going to be back at COTA, at the home of the United States Formula One Grand Prix, and those RE2 Formula cars will be back there as well. And I think that is probably one of the best venues for those Formula car racers to drive at. And so if you liked what you saw tonight, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell to find out about all the motorsports action. So for Brian Donati, for Dennis Branch, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. And may you rest in peace, Scott.